Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. The moment we have all been waiting for as Braves fans. I said it yesterday. Hey, I happen to have tickets, and of course, Yonny's on the mound. Like, what the heck is this? But it seems like every time Yonny is on the mound, the Braves offense just goes nuts, and it's a great ending. So it's like it turned out to be one of the most exciting moments of the season. I know the Braves have a 13.5 game lead in the division, but I can't tell you how incredible it is every time to go to Truist Park. And that place is just electric for 9 innings. I mean, there was never it was awesome. It was one of the better moments I've had in Truist Park because the famous Eddie chants were raining down, and it's a big moment. And man, my guy just has massive cojones, dude. Like I said this the day after because people are talking about their $9 million option for Eddie Rosario. And I don't know, maybe that's a little bit of an overpay for the actual production because he's not great defensively and he's a streaky hitter and it usually ends up in about a 770 OPS. I don't know if that's worth $9 million. But what you can't measure in this is just the massive balls that the guy has. I mean, it's just unbelievable how there's just ice in his veins, everything. I mean, that was a no-doubter off a guy who gives up like no home runs. First pitch he saw, elevated. He goes 4 for 4. He has another couple hits in the game. He's red hot since August. This is just who he is. And that moment, he got a curtain call. The whole 9th inning, Raisel Iglesias on the mound. People are still just chanting, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. I mean, it was awesome, dude. It was just like, and you just think about it, and it's like there really is not a baseball atmosphere like that, especially during the regular season. During the playoffs, everything's lit. Like we saw Philly, that place was nuts last year. Like during the playoffs, everybody's going to be lit. But from a 162 game season, those 81 home games at Truist Park, every single night, even during the day, it's just incredible the atmosphere that it provides. And then you get those moments and I got chills. Like I was sitting there and I was like, I was not expected to get chills over a game where it doesn't even really matter. We're 13.5 games up. If we had lost and we were only 12.5 games up, wouldn't have mattered. Like it would have not mattered at all. But I'm still sitting there getting chills about a game in August with a 13.5 game lead because it's just the atmosphere and everything. And like, you can see why players love playing here. Like every single night, it's like that. So that's why I always say, you know what? All the Braves success, Braves fans, you could give yourself a pat on the back because you're a big reason why people come here and sign these extensions and stuff like that. And obviously the team, they deserve all the praise. They deserve the product. We just talked about the Falcons last segment. But the product that they put on the field has just got the city in a frenzy over this team. And it's amazing to watch. I mean, dude, you go to the Battery at 2:00 on a Saturday and it's like a circus. It's like a circus. And they've just done such an amazing job that I just like even 3, 4, 5 years into this whole experiment, like that's become the home of the Braves. It's jaw dropping because I've never seen that. Like it's a college football atmosphere on Saturdays to watch a baseball team. Like people that are not around the city and don't come to Truist Park. And I can't explain it. It really is a college football atmosphere, especially on the weekends, especially during good games. Hopefully our playoff games are at night this year because that's when it's at its best. And it really does amaze me every time I go in there every weekend. And you're just like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, success is an understatement. I mean, it really is. Truist Park and the Battery area is a roaring success. Now you see all these other clubs, other organizations, not just baseball, building these Battery-like structures and areas around parks because you're seeing what the Braves are printing money. Not only are they winning games, which obviously helps revenue, but just actual atmosphere, they are printing money at the Battery. I know we always say that, but it's true. They are literally printing money at will. And it's incredible. You could go on a Wednesday night against the Rockies, and there's going to be 40,000 people in that stadium. It's absolutely unbelievable. You said it. Braves fans deserve. Clap it up, Braves fans. I mean, because it's all you. I mean, the players on the product, we want to go see them play. The actual company, the actual organization itself has made it a great experience before the game, during the game, after the game. They always have fun events for any age. You know, whether you're 60 and been a Braves fan since Hank Aaron or you're 7 years old going to your first Braves game ever, they have something for everybody. I know what we like to do. We like to go to the Battery and drink. If you like to do that, it's an adult playground. It is absolutely an unreal experience. And we were talking about it before you were going to this game, but like I think the Braves might be just throwing Yonny Chirinos out there to get their fielders some work, their offense, be like, hey, you guys have to go out there and score 7 runs or we're going to lose. And that's what the Braves do every single time. The Braves are 4-1 and Yanni's 5 starts and he's averaging, or I don't know, he's got like a 9-something ERA. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And it's because this Braves team is probably the best team in franchise history. Anything less than a World Series is going to be a disappointment. And I know that's maybe hard for some Braves fans to kind of wrap their heads around, but we're at that point. And I said it before, we're in the golden years. We're in the good old days. We're going to look back in a decade and be like, dang, we didn't know how good we had it. We are smack dab in the middle of the 90s when they were just winning pennant after pennant. We are right there where we're just winning divisions. It doesn't even matter about the division because it's going to be locked up. We're worried about World Series, and that's the only goal for this team for the next decade is winning World Series.
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about, it almost seemed like winning 14 straight division titles is unfathomable. And I know we're not close enough to really be talking about that, but I think there's just really no reason to think that the Braves can't go on a very similar run. And I know the Phillies are going to spend money and they're going to be constantly there. You expect the Mets to rebound from this little funk that they're in, especially with the way that they can spend money. But I don't know how anyone's going to still catch up to the Braves because they're damn near a perfect product. And it's really just about...
Yeah, even more than the actual team itself, which is just ultra talented. 1 through 9, everybody can change the game with one swing of the bat. The pitching staff has got aces, horses. The bullpen's is very talented and deep. But it feels like, it was those Patriots teams with Tom Brady where it's like they're just going to find a way to win. Like the Mets, the Phillies, the Marlins, they're just in their own head where they're like, we just can't beat these teams. And the Phillies are further away than the Mets and Marlins are because the Braves just own those two teams in particular. But it just feels like the Braves just have that psychological advantage over everyone in the division. Like the Mets must be, they are like an abused stepchild where they were 10.5 games up thinking they finally were going to win one. They won 100+ games. No. And the final series, one of the final series of the season, the Braves come back and beat you, and then you go and fall on your face the very season after while the Braves are the best team in baseball. It's got to be demoralizing to be in the Braves division. It really does. So, yes, they're never going to be as talented as the Braves, and they don't have that psychological edge that the Braves do. Yeah, I don't see how it's going to end.
It's hard to, and I say this all the time, over 162 games. And it's kind of why I don't like expanded playoffs, because I think it waters down the product that you have this very, very long season where you're sitting here determining who the best teams are. Because over 162 games, I say it all the time, the cream rises at the top. Like, and I said it last year when the Braves were 10.5 games. I'm like, I know we're better than this team. Like, I know 10.5 games is ridiculous, but we got a lot of season here. And eventually, like, we're going to get hot and get going. Now, I don't think anyone could have predicted the 10.5 game comeback because, listen, the Mets were a good team last year and the Braves had to go berserk, but they did. But the cream rises to the top over 162 games, which is why I honestly liked it better when it was just 2 divisions and like the 2 winners came out and then you played in the NLCS and then it was World Series and that was it. But listen, that's a different era of baseball. It's never going to come back. The expanded playoffs are fun. They add more. A lot more people are going to pay attention and stuff like that, bring in more money. I understand why they did it. I'm just saying it does kind of devalue the regular season where like the Braves, I almost feel like should get rewarded a little bit more. Now I am glad we have the buys and stuff. So like you get a first round buy, but it's like, I kind of feel like you should get rewarded more when you're just kicking everyone's butts. And then you have to just play a 5-game series. But let's talk quickly about Chirinos. He goes on the IL, 15-day IL. This is a phantom injury, guys. I mean, it couldn't have been more like expected. Like eventually they were going to either put him on the IL or release him. They're not going to release him yet. We've heard the reasoning why. I understand the reasoning. We talk about starting pitching depth. We've seen how we've needed it. If he is like under contract next year, if you don't release him, so you can keep him around just as a depth piece. So it looks like that's probably what they're going to do. If Winans pitches well, I don't know what they're going to do with Soroka. They might be limiting his innings, but if Winans pitching well, I assume Yonny probably goes to the 60-day IL if they just shut him down and like that's the end of his season. And he's probably going to have to agree to do that. But if he wants an opportunity to play on this team, and he said many times he's thankful to be here, that's his best shot. The Braves clearly think like they can fix something in him, and they're seeing something that I'm not seeing. But I'm not nearly as good at evaluating talent as the Braves are. We've seen them do this time and time again. It hasn't worked out to this point. But they would have just released him if they don't still believe that. So I think they're keeping him around. We'll see if we see him again. I'm glad that Winnings is getting this opportunity. He's looked really good in 2 starts. We'll see if he can continue that. faced the Mets last time he pitched 9 days ago, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, shutout ball. He gets them again tonight. So we'll see how he builds off that start, but I'm expecting to see him at least a couple times through the rotation now that Chirinos is on the IL.
He's done nothing but earn the opportunity. He was given the ball and he showed out, whereas Yonny has done the exact opposite. Sometimes these organizations like the Braves and, all these successful organizations think they're infallible, where like the Chiefs just throw anybody out there with Patrick Mahomes and think, he's going to cover up everybody's mistakes, which is, worked a little bit for them. Whereas the Braves, it's also worked for them where they think they can just fix everybody. I don't know if Yonny might be the exception. I mean, he's downright horrible.
Yeah, I'm done with the Yonny experiment. If they released him, I wouldn't have any problems. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about some NCAA coaches that are on the hot seat. We have a list, and a couple of them are very, very surprising.